Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me know if you can hear a sound now. Can you hear the audio now? No sound? Okay, I just changed it, so somebody give me a comment about the sound now. No audio, okay. Well, let me try something else. Microphone. All right, let's try this. Oh, someone said you could hear me. All right, wait a minute now. I'm gonna go back to that one. Sorry. See, it was working. Okay, let me know now if you can hear me because I just changed it from one to the other. So somebody tell me, can you hear me now? I hate it when this happens. I'll wait another second. I have a couple different sources for microphone. Okay, so now everybody can hear me. Goodness gracious, why does this happen? So I had an incident happen at one of my retreats. I'm gonna go over here because my fan speed didn't go up. And I gave everybody, I put my spices out for everybody to use. Hopefully that will work. And so, you know, I said, you can use my spices, and I had my spices from New Mexico. So they come in these little spice containers. And one of them is red chili powder, one of them is habanero powder, and then the other one is green chili powder. It was better before, but can still hear you. Better before. Okay, so is the sound clear or not, you guys? Because I can change it to the MacBook Pro microphone if I need to. So let me know the quality of the sound, and I'll change it if I need to. So, and I'll speak up. So what happened at the retreat was somebody went crazy with the spices, and they added, like, I don't know how much, they added a lot of habanero powder. And habanero powder is really hot. I mean, that stuff is ridiculously hot. And so when they put the chili out, nobody could eat it. They were like, they got a bowl of it. And even Nancy Sirianni, who likes things really spicy, sort of low but can hear you. Okay, I'm gonna change it back to, because that's not good. It shouldn't have to be low. Well, okay, let me go back here. I'm going to go to the to the default then of the MacBook Pro microphone. Things happen. Okay. Tied an error with your sound. Okay, I did. I changed to the MacBook Pro microphone, and hopefully now, okay, now it's good. I'm not going to mess with it anymore, but I do have to get something done about my AC. Hey, Steve. 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 Can you come help me with something? Got really hot in my room. So anyway, you can customize the chili however you want it. But one thing is true with the chili is it's better to add a little bit of spice at a time instead of too much. That is my main tip. I cannot get the AC to get the fan to come on. It got real hot in here. I turned it down because of the noise, and now it's so hot I can't get it to turn the fan on. I got Steve in here helping me. He's working, but he's kind enough to help me. Okay, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Chef Julia Dunaway, and I am a plant-based chef, and I do cooking demos, I do cooking classes, I do YouTube videos, and all kinds of things related to cooking plant-based without added oil. And I try to use the whole food plant-based concept. So, you know, healthy plant-based, not processed plant-based. And that does involve cooking the food. It does involve taking the time to either purchase food that you can put together or cooking it yourself, or just somehow, you know, making the food taste really good, because to me it's really hard to stick with this way of life and this way of eating if you can't have good tasting food. And trust me, I've talked to people along the way, and you know, they'll tell me that. They'll say, well, you know, I tried it for a while and nobody in my family would eat the food, and you know, people just didn't like it. Hi, Pamela Jones. You know, people could not get excited about, you know, the plant-based food or the salads, too many salads or whatever it is. And so there's kind of this block sometimes that people don't stick with it. So we have to make our food taste good. So let's make some chili. And while I'm making the chili, I'll talk to you more about plant-based cooking in general. I've got my pan, my pot here. You can see it. This is I think it's a 7-quart pot, and I use hex-clad pots and pans and skillets because I like them. And I'll show you my tray of ingredients that go in my chili. It's not very complicated. Thank you, Steve.
I think it was on the wrong mode.
Oh, okay. So I have a good onion. This is actually a Hatch onion because they're out right now from Hatch, New Mexico, because it's Hatch chili season in Texas, so they give us a lot of Hatch stuff. And then I have some jalapeno peppers, garlic, and tomatoes, canned fire roasted tomatoes. These are organic. And they have sodium, but not a lot. The green chilies and some spices, that's it, and the beans. So it's really not that complicated. When people say, oh, you know, it's too complicated, I just want to have some canned beans. Susan says, I love your blouse. Thank you. I don't need this microphone anymore since I'm not using it. So annoying. I'm going to take it off so it doesn't irritate me. This time of year, this kind of outfit feels really nice and cool. Wearing a chef coat is not comfortable when it's hot. And even though, you know, I'm inside, today it's 99 degrees. So I'm going to use a sweet yellow onion. I need, in my recipe it says 2 cups of chopped onion, so I'll use the whole onion. And while I'm cutting the onion, I can talk to you about other things. So, Ryan, okay, stopping in and out while getting things done. Ryan, that's good. It'll be recorded. It will be on Facebook. I don't know if something happened and it didn't go to YouTube. Is anyone watching on YouTube? If so, let me know in the comments, because it should have gone to YouTube, but it said something about one of the destinations that this was live streaming to was not working, so I'm not exactly sure what happened, but I will find out. I'm telling you, it's always something. No matter what, there's always something that doesn't work out, whatever it is. So if that's what it is today, you know, nothing I can do about it. But for those of you watching, I'm happy that you're watching. Here comes Toshi. He heard food. YouTube here. Okay, so YouTube's working. It must be one of my Facebook pages. Is anybody watching on Chef Julia Facebook page? Well, who knows? I'm glad of that. Toshi's in here watching. Okay, good. Yeah, I really want it to work on YouTube because not everybody wants to use Facebook anymore. Hey, honey. Does anyone want to see Toshi? See how big he is? Okay, this is a big onion. I'm going to measure this out and see how much onion was in half of this onion. Man, this was like a cup of onion. So I'm going to just use half of this onion because half of this onion is 2 cups of onion. So I kind of cut it into a large dice. I have my little handy tool here. And I'll get it in the skillet, in the pot. And I hardly had any waste, but I'm going to cut this little piece because I don't like to waste anything, especially these really good sweet onions. And I have my trash bowl here for my scraps, and I feed them to the compost. It wasn't working on Facebook, huh? That's weird. Well, it should have gone to two places on Facebook, Chef Julia and my personal page, Julia Dunaway. So I'm not sure what happened with that, but who knows? You know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, I prefer to use YouTube and not even use Facebook because of all the things that go on, but a lot of people, that's what they're used to and that's what they like to see. Okay, so you heard my pan was already sizzling hot, and that's important. You don't want to put your onions in a cold pan. Here, let me give you a close-up of the, I even have a camera over the onions. So you want to make sure your onions go into a hot pan because then they'll start to brown a tiny bit on the outside, and that's what you want. You don't want them to just sit in water. And I know a lot of the instructions you get will say things like, put water in the pan and then add the food. Well, I never do that because to me the water waters down the potential flavor that develops when you saute it in a hot pan. So I let it go in the hot pan. Now if I want to add a little water, like right now it's starting to get a little brown, you know, maybe more than I want. So now I can add a couple tablespoons of water, and that will keep the onions from burning. So add the water after you got it started. And then next we have some garlic. I have about 4 garlic cloves. And I already peeled them because these are from my garden. And they're hard to peel, I guess because of the freshness of them. Maybe I didn't cure them long enough, but I find that my personal garlic cloves are harder to peel than the ones you get at the store. But the garlic tastes really good. I planted in the fall, like in September, and then I harvested in, I think about June. Let me get back to the comments. Huh. Not working on Facebook. Well, what the heck? What's wrong with Facebook? I'll have to do a short live stream on Facebook sometime and see if it'll work. Because when I did my test on it, it was working fine. Who knows? But anyway, the garlic is harder to peel. So I peeled it in advance because it took a little bit longer. And so I thought, you know, they don't want to watch me peeling garlic on this live stream because that's boring to do something that's time consuming like that. So I get the garlic in here. You don't want to put the garlic in immediately because with the garlic it can burn. So my pan's on like medium high. It's not on super high because a mistake a lot of people make is they put their garlic in a super hot pan and then the garlic starts to burn. And I like to cook my onions. I'm going to turn the heat down even, and so as not to burn the onions. And I like to, even to soften my onions a bit, I will put a little water in and cover it with the lid and cook it on medium for like 5 minutes. And that makes sure the onions are soft. Because one of the things that I learned early on in my plant-based cooking was onions that aren't cooked in oil tend to taste, I'm looking because I keep seeing the birds flying by. Onions that aren't cooked well a lot of times taste bitter. And if they're not cooked in oil, I think oil kind of tames them a little bit. Then the onions will kind of take on this bitter flavor. And so I'm always trying to make things taste better so people will enjoy the food more and not, you know, say, oh, I ate some plant-based thing and it didn't have any taste or whatever. That's what I hear from people. Or, you know, the other thing I hear from people a lot is plant-based food is boring and, you know, it doesn't taste good and different things. So it doesn't have to be that way. But some of it is, surprised you're not on Instagram. For some reason, the eCam program I'm on doesn't stream to Instagram. It only allows me certain destinations. So I'm working on it. But anyway, make your food taste good. And if you really wanted to save time and make it as quickly as possible, you could use canned beans and you could make this in the Instant Pot. And on my recipe, I even have Instant Pot instructions. So since we're on YouTube, I can put the recipe on YouTube. So after this is over, I'll go back in the show notes and put the whole recipe, including the Instant Pot instructions. Karen Hicks says hi. Hi, Karen. Good afternoon from Blanco. Yeah, that's a great place. Come here, Toshi. You want to say hi? Oh, that's Cammy. Want to see Cammy? Come here, honey. Want to say hi? You're kind of heavy. Can't pick you up all the way. There's Cammy. Cammy's 3. She's the girl. Toshi was in here a minute ago. If he comes back, I'll get him to say hi. They're good dogs. Whenever I'm cooking, they're around because they want to. Whatever I'm cooking, they want to eat. And they'll eat a lot of vegetables, which is funny to me because, you know, I didn't know that dogs like vegetables so much, but mine like them most of the time. There's some they don't like. Okay, so the onions, the garlics are in there. Now we need garlic. We need a cup, and that's roughly a cup of diced green chilies. So I know some of you have told me you can't get hatch chilies. So you can use canned green chilies. They've been out forever. Puppy. Yeah, Cammy's 3. She's not a puppy anymore, but the puppy, Toshi, come. He's probably in there with my husband. Diced green chilies in a can, or you can get them in jars now. Different brands. These are Dos Hermanos. So, you know, they come in, and I think Costco for a long time had them in, Elizabeth says my dog eats all veggies. Costco had big jars of roasted green chilies that, you know, were really good. Of course, one problem with them is they were in a great big jar, and I would never use the whole jar, and then, you know, put it in the fridge, and I just wouldn't use it all. So I kind of gave up on that. Okay, so green chilies. Right now, in season in Texas and New Mexico, around this part of the world, are these things called hatch green chilies. And they look like Anaheim peppers, which look very similar and are very similar, except hatch chilies are grown in Hatch, New Mexico. And because of the soil, the temperature, the seeds they use, the history, the heirloom seeds, the hatch chilies have a more spicy, deep flavor than plain old Anaheim peppers that look like this. So don't mistake the Anaheims for the same thing. Kathy says my grocery store has hatch chilies. Buy one, get one this week. I've never tried them before. Okay, make sure that you get the mild ones. Unless you're just like a super spicy eater, because the spicy ones will burn the heck out of your mouth. I can't even eat them, they're too spicy. Okay, so you get them like this. Well, at the stores, a lot of them will sell them to you already roasted. So if you get them already roasted, then what you get is, where did I put them here? I just got through roasting my chilies that I'm going to use for the chili. And what you do when you put them on I put them out on the gas grill. And so when you get them in the store and they're already roasted, they're all kind of bent and they're put in a box, and they still have the skins on and the membranes inside and the seeds. But that's how they come when you buy them in the store if they're already roasted. To do it yourself, what you do is you put these on your gas grill or charcoal grill or in your broiler, or you can even use, like if you have a newer air fryer, my air fryer has a grill in the air fryer. So I can put these in the air fryer on the grill and it will blister them just like this. And then the next step is, and I put them in a plastic bag because right after they come off the grill, if you put them in a plastic bag for 10 minutes, then the skins will just come right off, okay? The skins will peel off completely and totally without much effort at all. And you cannot consume the skins of these peppers because they're really tough. They're inedible. You would think, oh, how bad could they be? We don't skin bell peppers. We don't take the skins off of whatever peppers, but these kind of peppers have a really thick skin. And so you have to peel the skins off. But if you put them in a plastic bag for a few minutes, the skins will peel right off just like this. And for my chili today, I'm going to use 4 of these big hatch chilies. They are kind of big. You can use 5, you can use 6, whatever amount you want to use. 4 is a good number for me. I don't know if it makes exactly a cup, but close enough. So I've got them all peeled, and then the next step, after peeling them, I'll put these peels in my trash can. is we have to get the seeds and the membranes out. And I found the easiest way to do it first is open it up. And then you can kind of, you know, scrape out the top part, and it comes off pretty easily. I just kind of scrape it. And then make sure you get all the seeds out, because when I first started using, so it looks like this. When I first started using hatch chilies, I wasn't as careful. Such an interruption. So then I thought, oh, how bad could one little seed be? But you'd be amazed. These seeds they're tough as little rocks. So if you leave a few of these hatched seeds in your peppers and you bite into something that has seeds in it, you're not going to like it. You're going to be upset. Cannot use multiple. Okay. All right, so is everybody still here? No sound. Okay, hold on. I don't know what's going on. I am going to turn this off. That is so strange, you know. You can hear it now. It's my MacBook Pro, so there's no reason why it should lose the sound. It's not an external microphone. So hopefully it'll be all right. I'm a little frustrated with Ecamm. It was supposed to be such a user-friendly system, but it's not proving to be that way right now. I think I need to practice. With it every day so I can troubleshoot all these things, which I had done before, and they worked fine. The last live stream, it cut out for a second, but it's back. Yeah, the reason it cut out is because I got a message from the Ecamm company, which does the live stream, saying that I couldn't use multiple microphones, which I don't have on. Okay, so now I have all my peppers, and I'm going to cut them up and get them ready to put in the chili. I don't need this. So I'm going to cut them into pieces. And I just want to cut them into, like, I don't know, just regular size, 1/2 inch, maybe smaller, 1/4 inch diced pieces, like what you get if you buy a can of them, is they come in like a small dice. You don't want giant chunks of the green chilies in your chili. It's not going to dissolve. I have it on low heat. It's doing all right. I think I'm going to put a little bit of water in there because I don't want it to. This stove of mine, it's a gas stove and it gets really hot. So you have to really keep an eye on it. Sound is back. Okay, good. I figured it was. Thank you guys. Thank you for your patience. You know, technology is a great thing till it's not. Till something doesn't work. And then it's like, what the heck? You think you have it all and then you don't. All right, so I got the green hatch chilies. You see how I cut them all into strips? And then I'm going to just dice them into small dice. I think is best. That's like 1/4 of an inch dice. And I'm going to measure this to see how much 4 of the big hatch chilies made. I think it's a cup, maybe more, but to me, you can't have too many of these this time of year because I'm always looking for ways to use them. My husband will go to the store and bring back a bunch of roasted hatch chilies when they're out there, like on the weekends around here. They're out, the grocery stores are out there roasting them. Yep, look, that was exactly a cup. Can you believe that? How accurate that was? 4, I thought, well, 4 looks like it might be about a cup. It was exactly a cup. That's pretty good. I'm proud of that. Okay, where did I put my scraper tool? Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's still hot, but it's better. Thank you, Steve. All right. So after that, I'm going to add, whew, I'm sweating. I'm going to add the hatch chilies. Just get them in here. If anybody has any questions, I can see your comments, so feel free to ask. And I'll mix it up a little bit with my bean spoon. And you can see, I'll show you a view of the pot so far. Is really we have just the onions, garlic, and hatch chilies. And I'm going to turn it up to about medium. And then I'm going to start adding some more things. I'm going to add all the spices, beans, and tomatoes here in a minute.
I can feel it's cold coming
Okay. Can you bring me some frozen corn out of the freezer? A bag of frozen corn, yeah.
out. Longer room freezer?
Okay. Now, let's talk about the beans because I'm going to add 2 cups each of pinto beans and black beans. So, I haven't seen any comments for a while, so if anybody is having issues, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. I just want to know that you can hear me okay. So what I did this morning is I made black beans. And they're still in my Instant Pot because I just wanted to tell you that you can cook your Rancho Gordo beans in the Instant Pot. And Rancho Gordo even has their newest book. It's called Rancho Gordo Vegetarian Cookbook. It even has a page in there with instructions for how to cook the beans in the Instant Pot. So I don't always cook beans in the Instant Pot, but sometimes I do because it's a lot quicker. And especially in the summertime, you know, I don't really want to spend all day stirring beans. Okay, Elizabeth says everything is okay. I don't want to spend all day stirring beans over the stove, and so having the Instant Pot is really handy. So I made the pinto beans last night and I made the black beans this morning. And those are 2 kinds of beans. Thank you. Those happen to be 2 kinds of beans that turn out really well in the Instant Pot. You always check the beans for any stones or weird things or rotten beans and take all those out, and then you rinse them really well, and I put them in the Instant Pot. And one secret with the Instant Pot is don't put too much water in it because the water's not going to evaporate. And one mistake people make is they put way too much water in and the beans just have no richness. They just taste watery. So I only cover the beans about 1 inch, just 1 inch. And then I put some onion, like 1/4 of an onion chopped up, and 3 or 4 garlic cloves, small garlic cloves. My garlic cloves are really small. And then I stick it in there for the amount of time that I use, which is 45 minutes for black beans and pinto beans. And that turns out to be just the right amount of time for those kind of beans. I'm going to also use my measuring cup to measure out 2 cups of black beans. And even though the broth is really flavorful, you know, I could eat this pot of beans right now and be perfectly happy. It tastes delicious. Everything about it is good. But for my chili, I don't want to put the juice of the black beans in there because it will muddy up the color of my chili. I've done it before and I didn't like the way it looked or tasted even. It just didn't go well with all the other things that are in my chili. So don't use your bean juice when you're going to add it to chili. And also, I forgot to say, I naturally release it. So it it Instant Pot for 45 minutes on pressure and then let it naturally release. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rinse these beans off very quickly here in my sink. They don't need a lot of rinsing, but just enough to get most of the bean broth off. And I'm not worried about getting every ounce of bean broth off, just most of it. Okay, so then it just, they just look like black beans. They don't look like, they don't look like black beans in the black bean juice. And the same thing with the pinto beans. So I made the pinto beans last night, and I made them in the Instant Pot, and just put them in the refrigerator in the juice they were in. So I know the sound went off for a second. It's because I'm getting these error messages from the eCam people. And when I get that, it kind of goes off for a second. Okay, so I rinsed off the pinto beans. I'm going to put them in. And again, the pinto bean broth tastes fine, but I don't really want it in the chili. Okay? It's just not, it doesn't add to the chili. It doesn't make it better. It's okay, but it's just not what I want in there. And I've got the heat turned up to about medium high. And then I'm going to add the tomatoes. So in this case, I'm using 2 cans, and they're 14.5-ounce cans of fire roasted tomatoes. Okay, so the fire roasted tomatoes, they're kind of chunky. They're a little chunky, but that's okay, because trust me, the chunkiness will cook down as it cooks. And you can always mash them down a little bit if they're still too chunky. Now, let's say that you didn't want to use canned tomatoes. Let's say that you had a lot of garden tomatoes this year, like I do. And so, you had tons of tomatoes. And the tomatoes are in here, both kind of beans, the green chilies, garlic, and onions so far. So let me get back to my other camera. So let's say that you had, let's say that you had a lot of tomatoes from your garden, and you didn't want to buy canned tomatoes. Well, as long as you cut up the tomatoes to equal about 28 ounces of tomatoes like you would have in canned tomatoes, that's fine. And I've done that before. I've used my own tomatoes and not canned tomatoes. But because not everybody can count on canned tomatoes, then we're just going to count on fresh tomatoes. We'll use the canned tomatoes. And now we'll add our spices. So in my recipe, it says a tablespoon of red chili powder. Well, I have to kind of edit that a little bit, because when I said that, I was talking about like grocery store chili powder. Your common everyday grocery store chili powder is not that spicy. And that's okay. But if you're using the spices from New Mexico, they seem to be a lot stronger. So I'm starting with a teaspoon of the chili powder. And the reason for that is because, like I said before, once you put it in there, you can't take it out. And if it's too spicy and too strong, then nobody will eat it. They'll taste it and they'll say, oh, I can't eat this, it's too spicy. So it's better to under-spice it, and then you can add more later, okay? So when I post my recipe, I'm gonna say, start with 1 teaspoon and add more, because I don't want you to make it and then say, oh, it was so hot nobody could eat it. And then I'm gonna add some cumin. I don't have it. It must be over here. I thought I got it. Here it is. A teaspoon of ground cumin. Good thing I knew exactly where it was. That gives it a good flavor. And then we're going to add a half a teaspoon of ground coriander. Okay, any questions? Oh, and let's say that you did not want to use pinto beans and black beans because you had a couple other beans left over from something else you made. Well, you could use whatever beans you want. You don't have to use, this is a half teaspoon of cumin. You don't have to use pinto beans and black beans. You could use red beans. You could use kidney beans. You could use, I guess you could use white beans. I don't usually make chili with white beans, but you know, a lot of people made like white chili. And then Mexican oregano. It has 1 tablespoon in my recipe, but I'm only going to put in a teaspoon, and I'm going to change that because I think a tablespoon is too much. Mexican oregano is different from Greek oregano. It is more pungent. And if you don't have Mexican oregano, you can use marjoram instead. Are you guys still with me? I haven't seen any comments in a while, so that makes me a little nervous that maybe you're not able to hear me or see me or something. So let me know if everything's good. Somebody give me a comment. Okay, then we have 2 cups of vegetable stock. So here's my vegetable stock. In an ideal world, you would make your own vegetable stock and you would just use some kind of, you know, vegetable scraps, and you would, you know, make it all the time, and you would take carrots and celery and onions and boil it and create a beautiful stock, and you would use that for everything. But that doesn't always happen. People get busy. You don't have time to make vegetable stock, so yes, everything's fine. Okay, so I use this organic vegetable base from Better Than Bouillon, and I just use a small amount, like a half a teaspoon for 2 cups of water. And that works great for me because I always have this, keep it in the refrigerator, and then whenever you need it, like what I do is I take, excuse me, I take half a teaspoon of the base, and I put it in my glass cup, and I put boiling water, just like a half a cup of boiling water, and I mix it up with a whisk, and then I add just cold water to the rest of it. That way I don't have to use a lot of boiling water, just a half a cup. And this works. I don't have any problem with that. It works for me every time. It hasn't been an issue. Okay, let's look at our chili. You can see the progress that it's made. So I'm going to try to get it simmering now, but it's got the beans and the spices and the green chilies and the tomatoes and vegetable broth. And then we can also add, let's see, I think that's about all we can add right now. So we're good. So I'm going to bring it to a good boil and then start simmering it. Now I have in my instructions that you could add other vegetables like diced carrots, eggplant, potatoes, bell peppers, mushrooms. Now, you know, those are all things that are perfectly fine, but I kind of like to keep it a little simpler and just kind of stick with the beans and the onions and garlic and the, you know, green chilies and keep it kind of basic. That's just my taste preference. But, you know, if you're a person that doesn't mind mixing a lot of things together and you have leftover vegetables that you want to put in your chili, I would say just be cautious because sometimes more is not better. And one thing I've noticed with people in the plant-based world is sometimes they will put too many things in a dish thinking that, well, it's all vegetables. I'll just throw in and make this hodgepodge soup or something. Well, you know, maybe it's because I'm a chef. I don't know. I don't like to mix a lot of random flavors together. I find that not always really good. So tell me your thoughts about that. Do you think it's better to keep recipes cleaner, or are you a person that mixes everything together? So, you know, that's the basic chili to get it going. And why is this such a good recipe? Well, the reason it can be a really good recipe is if you use fresh ingredients like good onions, good garlic, and not all garlic is good. grocery store garlic can be bitter because it's old. It has a kind of a green root running through it. If you see that, take that green little thing out of the middle of your garlic because that will taste really bitter. But a lot of grocery store garlic is already kind of old and it has kind of just a bitter taste. But you know, homegrown garlic, or if you can find gourmet garlic in the grocery store, like even Costco now has bags of some kind of you know, high quality garlic. So you know, try some really good gourmet garlic. You'd be surprised. And then you know, cooking your own beans. Even if your own beans are cooked in the Instant Pot, they're going to be better. Oh my God, it's so hot in here. They're going to be better than canned beans. So if you can, you know, make your beans in the Instant Pot, and let's say that you only wanted to make one kind of beans, like I had black beans and pinto beans. I didn't have to make both kind of beans, but my recipe says 2 kinds of beans. But if I were in a hurry, I could have just made the black beans in the Instant Pot. It doesn't take that long. You know, like, for example, you can be doing other things and cook your black beans and then use them a little bit later. Or let's say, it depends on what I have on hand. I like a cleaner recipe from Joanne. I've had big failures when just chunking everything in the pot. Yeah, see, I think that's why people don't like plant-based food, because they think it's not a big deal to just throw a bunch of stuff together, and then they give it to people and they're like, I don't really like this. So, you know, that's why I try to tell you everything to put in it, and then like, don't put any other stuff in it. That's what happened in my class when the people said, oh here, I'm gonna put a little bit of those powders in. I had my habanero powder and green chili powder out, and they put it in. So I am going to put some habanero powder in here because it really does make it taste good. But I'm only going to use 1/4 of a teaspoon. It's fine. It's better. I'm still just burning up.
It was off for too long.
Oh,
The room got too
yeah.
hot and stuff. Take that thing off.
Well, thanks for checking on me. And then 1/4 of a teaspoon of the green chili powder. And those things will give it more flavor. And by the way, my spices are from the Santa Fe School of Cooking. And if you go online to Santa Fe School of Cooking and look under their spices, you'll find green chili powder, habanero powder, and the one I use the most, I need to order more, is authentic red chili powder, medium. It's kind of hard to see that. Let me put it on this camera and see if it shows up better. It doesn't really show up under the camera. Here it goes. Authentic red chili powder, medium. It really is good, and I like it so much I'm ordering some more. Okay, you see how nicely the chili's coming along? And if you don't like those chunks of tomato in here, what you can do is you can press them against the side of the pan and smash them down. I try to do that because I don't want to smash the beans. So if I smash these pieces of tomato against the side of the pot, see how I'm doing them? Then they'll just kind of dissolve. But if you just simmer the chili, they'll dissolve too. They won't stay like that. And it's just the perfect thickness. It doesn't have you know, it's not too thin, it's not too thick. But if you like it thicker, just reduce it and cook it longer. If you like it thinner, you can add vegetable broth to it. But just like other chili recipes, this chili recipe improves by the next day. So like the first day it tastes good, but then the second day it tastes even better to me. I'm going to turn the heat down a little bit. So I had it kind of high. I'm going to turn it to medium now. You know, like it would taste great right now, but by tomorrow, it's just like all kinds of stews and soups. They just develop their flavor as they sit overnight in the refrigerator. And then what you can do with it is you can freeze it if you have leftovers. What I like to do is keep it out for about 3 days. So the first day, like tonight, I'll have a bowl of chili. And most of the time I make cornbread. Does anybody want me to repeat my cornbread recipe and put it in when I put the show notes today? Let me know if you do. because my husband loves the cornbread a lot. So most of the time when I make chili, I make cornbread because then he'll enjoy it more. But you can also use other kinds of side dishes, like sometimes I'll use brown rice. Sometimes I'll have it with a piece of sourdough bread because, you know, I make bread. So I'll put a piece of bread in it on the side. I have some frozen corn. Sometimes I blend half my tomatoes before adding them. I like a few chunks. Well, that's a good idea. I'm going to put about half a cup of, what's in my recipe? Let's see how much corn I said to put. A cup of corn. Okay, moving back to the cup. Let me get a cup. Now, do you have to add corn? No, you don't have to add corn, but I like it with corn. I think that gives it a really good color and flavor. So I'm going to add my cup of corn. And you can wait till later to add the corn, like after it's simmered a little bit longer, but since I'm live doing this, I'm going to add it now so it's in there and you can see it. Yeah, yes please, I love cornbread. You know, the corn just gives it a nice look. Now, you know, non-plant-based people might be thinking, ew, I don't want this chili with all this vegetables and corn and weird stuff in it. But, you know, if you're a plant-based person, you'll probably like it. I do anyway. Okay, so I've got everything in that. Now let's talk about how we're going to serve it. So back to the first night I eat the chili with the cornbread. The second night, then I can put the chili on something else. Like you could put it on top of a baked potato, or you could put it on rice. It's really good, like chili with brown rice or white rice, any kind of rice. And then you could, you know, use it for nachos or use it in some kind of, you know, Tex-Mex dish. So there are lots of ways you can use your chili. But one thing about it is it keeps really well, and if you freeze it in individual portions like super cubes or in some kind of, you know, freezer safe container or however you like to freeze stuff. I freeze my stuff in these little, they're plastic Rubbermaid containers because it's easy. And then when I take them out, I don't heat them up in those containers. I take them out and put them in, you know, like a ceramic bowl to reheat them. And they turn out fine, but the chili tastes really good after it's been frozen. There's just something about it. It just tastes good. It keeps well, and even weeks later, like I took some chili out of the freezer recently that was from my June retreat, and it was great. Oh, excuse me. There was nothing wrong with it. I sneezed into my arm so that I didn't sneeze on myself, but I'm going to wash my hands anyway, just because. All right, so what are we going to put on top of our chili? And that's a big thing because, you know, we want to make it taste really good. We want to have some good toppings, and toppings can make it even better than it already is. So let me show you some common toppings that I would use. Have them on a nice little tray. So I have tortilla strips, and I made these earlier today. Let me show you a close-up of them. You can see how our chili's doing. It's coming along really nicely. You know, that's the tomatoes are kind of dissolving, and they're doing really well. But here's the tortilla strips. And what I did was I took some of the Mi Rancho thin credible tortillas, and I just cut them into thin strips, and I put them in my air fryer for a total of about 5 minutes. I checked them at 3 minutes. And then at 3 minutes, I kind of mixed them around and cooked them for another minute or so. So those are really good. They don't have any salt, no lime juice, nothing on them. But, you know, they make a really good topping for chili. And then I also have some black olives, sliced black olives. That might seem a little odd, but people like this. When I do it at the retreat, they're always gone. Then I have some different chilies, and I'll slice these. I'll slice up some avocado, and I'll slice up some scallion, and I have some lime. do you have to put all this on your chili? No, you don't have to put any of this on your chili. You could just eat your bowl of chili. But, you know, a lot of times people like toppings, so let's at least have some options. I really like the red Fresno chilies. I grow these in my garden, and they're so pretty, and they look good on top of your bowl of chili, and they taste good. They're not super spicy, so we'll just have a few pieces. And then scallions. Scallions are a really good topping. We don't need too many. This is going to be my dinner tonight. It's 100 degrees here, and I'm going to have chili. That's okay. Our house is air conditioned. Every other place but this room is cool. This room gets hot. It used to be the patio. And then I have a lime. Fresh lime brightens food up. So even though you might not think of putting lime on your chili, if you squeeze a little bit on your chili, your bowl of chili, it will really be good. Oh, I have cilantro, but I didn't bring it into this room. It's in the other room. I'm not going to go get it right now. But, you know, use your imagination. I'll put some on when I post a picture. I have a really nice avocado. You have to use avocado now. But avocado tastes really good on top of chili. Trust me. If you haven't tried it, just put a few little cubes on top of your chili. And I just cut them into little cubes while it's still in the shell. Then they'll be real easy to get out. So let's go ahead and plate up one of our bowls of chili. And I'll probably, normally I would cook it longer than this because I want those tomatoes to dissolve, and I might cook it for another 15 minutes, but it really doesn't need much longer than that. I'll show you as I'm getting it out to plate it. But because I don't want to keep you here for the whole day, I will go ahead and serve up a bowl of it like I would. And really, you could eat it right now. It's perfectly fine. It's cooked. It doesn't really need anything. It looks great. And then I'm going to put the toppings on it. And then I'll test it and tell you how it really is. Let me get a paper towel. It's not Top Chef, but we still have to make the plate look good, always. Okay, so I'm going to put, I guess I should put it down instead of try to hold it while I'm doing this. How about if I put it here where you can see it better? Some scallions, a few pieces of my Fresno chili, beautiful color. Squeeze on a little bit of lime. Let me do this. Avocado, onions, and chips. Yeah, okay. I have the black olives, which I think are good. The tortilla chips. They look good and they taste really good. And I think that's it. Oh, the avocado. Let me put a few more scallions on here, and then you can see the finished product. Okay, so those of you watching, what do you like on your chili? Just plain? All these different toppings? I even saw a post on Instagram or something where they had like a, oops, this is a little bit more avocado than I wanted to get in there, but it won't hurt anything. This post was about a chili grazing board, and it was like a charcuterie board concept, but it had a pot of chili, and it had all these toppings that people could put on their chili to customize it. I thought that was a little different, but apparently that's something that is popular enough that people could have a party and have chili with different toppings. Okay, so let's get a close-up of this so you can see it. So here's the chili with all the toppings. What do you think? Is this something you would eat? And then we can go back to, I have a spoon. I know the sound bleeped off because I got another one of my notifications. So it's a little spicy, like, whew, I think that was that habanero pepper I put in there. Whew, that kind of got it. But it's good. I'm not saying it's not good, but if you don't like spicy food, this bowl of chili might be a little bit over the top. So anyway, if you like spicy chili, follow my instructions. If you don't want it quite that spicy, don't put habanero powder in it, because I think that kind of took it over the top. And maybe even the green chili powder, that might have done it. But what's really good is if you can get freshly roasted hatch chilies, really, really good. But make this chili, cook it down longer than I did, because I can tell you right now that all those tomatoes are starting to just kind of melt the longer it cooks, and you won't have a bunch of chunky tomatoes in it, which this one has a little bit. It looks delicious. Autumn is coming fast. Chili is one of my favorites when it gets cooler, Belinda said. Kathy says, I always put celery in my chili. But it wasn't hatch chili. I like the crunch. I think it would go well. Okay, Kathy, no celery. No celery in New Mexican style chili. Save it for the other kind of chili, okay? Just use onions, garlic, green chilies, beans, and the spices, and I think you'll like it a lot better. You can have different kinds of chili. You can have this kind of hatch green chili. You could have Midwestern chili. You could have grandma's chili. You could have lots of different kinds of chili, okay? So, try this the way it is, kind of simple with these ingredients, and see what you think before you add other stuff. And you can leave out the corn, but I would make sure you have the green chilies. So much flavor. And I also think that getting premium chili powder is really good. I mean, you don't have to order it online, but if you shop around in your grocery store and look for the gourmet chili peppers, chili powders, don't get the first one you see, like McCormick chili powder. It doesn't have any taste. It's like so bland. But if you go to we have grocery stores around here with a spice aisle, and you can pick your own spices. Ocean Breeze says, got hatch chilies at Costco and we'll make this tonight. Love cool raw onion on top. Yeah, raw onion's a great thing. Instead of scallions, you can have chopped onion. So, go to a grocery store that has a spice section, or somewhere that has good spices, and get some gourmet level of chili powder. Excuse me. And I think you'll really appreciate the difference that will make in your dish if you have really good tasting chili powder. The best, and I should have gotten it out of the freezer, I forgot all about it, is the Chamayo chili powder. And it's from a little town in New Mexico called Chamayo. And they're the only place that can call the chili powder Chamayo, Chimayo. If it's not grown in that little town, they can't call it Chamayo. So that has the best taste. Elizabeth says, just have to pick up some hatch chilies and make this for the weekend. Yeah, this is the time. That's why I wanted to make this, not because I'm into cooking pots of hot food in the summertime. To me, it really doesn't matter, because, my dinner meal is usually a hot meal. So whether it's a bowl of chili or something I cooked on the stove or in the oven, it doesn't really matter to me. But it's really one of the best uses of my hatch chilies. If you do buy a bunch of hatch chilies at the grocery store, and let's say you get, like I do, I'll get like 20 pounds of the roasted hatch chilies. And what I'll do is I will separate them into 1 cup portions and put them in little Ziploc bags and put them all in a big Ziploc bag. And so then all year, whenever I make the chili or anything, I will take out a bag of the hatch chilies, take the seeds and skins off. Joanne says, thank you for explaining things so well. I may be 70, but I'm just learning how to cook. You give me confidence to try your recipes. That's great. I'm 72. I'm 70 also, Joanne. And I didn't go to culinary school till I was 54. So I was the oldest person in the class. there were some people that were like, 18, 20, and I had already raised 4 children. And so then when, they taught us how to do everything all over again, which was hard to unlearn bad habits, but it was funny because some things that other people didn't know how to do, I knew how to do lots of basic stuff like how to boil eggs and how to peel things and how to peel apples and how to cut things up because of, at my age and raising a family and cooking all my life. So, but it was hard. So yeah, 70 is nothing. 70 is the new 40. Didn't you know that? So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old we are now. Elizabeth says I'm 76 and I've learned a lot. Great. The way I look at it now is age is nothing. Age is a number, because you can be so healthy at any age now. You can take good care of your health, eat the plant-based diet, eat tons of beans, grains, vegetables, fruit, and stay away from the processed food, the junk food, exercise every day. I get up every morning and walk 5 miles most days. Some days I don't walk on the weekend if I'm busy doing other stuff. But being fit and healthy and eating well is, I'm healthier now and look better now than I did 30 years ago, because I used to be overweight and I used to have, lots of, bloating and swelling and whatever. I just didn't feel that good at different times, and I would diet until I lost the weight, and then I would look good for a month or two. I thought I looked good, I would look better. But then I would go off the diet and go back to my usual junk food and gain all the weight back. So, I really like being able to eat food like this now. And, I could eat this bowl of chili and a piece of cornbread and a bowl of fruit and wake up tomorrow the exact same weight that I am today. It's not going to be like in the past where I would eat a bowl of chili, maybe have 2 bowls, maybe put a bunch of cheese and sour cream on it, maybe have it with flour tortillas, and on and on and on, and then have something for dessert. And back in those days I was a lot heavier and not very healthy, and I ate a lot more food and I ate a lot more rich food. But I still eat a lot, and I still eat a lot of good food, but it's not causing me to gain weight. And if you want to see what I eat on Facebook, Chef Julia Support Group, I post what I eat every day. And you can look at it and see the amount, the type of food, and ask me questions, whatever. So there you go. All right, well, the chili is continuing to develop, and the tomatoes are kind of, they're just like softening. Here, I'll show you. I'll show you one last time so you could see before we end. If you could see now, there's very few chunks of tomatoes, and if I take any and press them against the side of the pan, they immediately burst. So that to me is a good sign. That's a sign that, it's all come together and it's thickened up a little bit, and it's a good consistency. So I probably wouldn't cook it any longer now that the tomatoes have kind of burst and they're not as solid. But like somebody said earlier, you can shortcut the tomatoes by blending some of them in your blender, and then you can add half blended and half chunks, and then you don't have to worry about how long before the tomatoes have softened. But I think, to me, that's a good indication of when the chili is done, is when the tomatoes are really soft, because then you've cooked it long enough. All right, everybody, I am going to practice some more live streaming to get all my equipment working right. I don't know what went wrong. I did the same exact thing before and it worked fine. So who knows? I'm sorry for the interruptions. Those things happen, and I'm not going to give up. So I'll be back doing some more live streaming, and I'll let you know what I'm going to do and when. I might do something really simple, so if I run into some problems, I can correct them fast. So thanks for watching this with me, and I will see you all in the next live stream or class. Oh, I'm having a class on September the 28th called Japanese Sushi Onigiri, Sushi Burritos, and Miso Soup. So sign up for that on my website, chef-julia.com. And I think, oh, and then one other announcement I have is I have a new ebook coming out, and it's called 7-Day Meal Planning for the 21-Day Challenge. And I've got 7 whole days with all the meals for each day. And I'm going to be, in fact, that's something I'll do some live streaming on, is how each of those recipes is made for the day. So be watching for that. Kathy says, it's always enjoy seeing you cook things. Find myself trying more or some other new way I learned from you at some point in time. Great, I appreciate that. That's why I do what I do, because if I'm going to make something that sounds interesting to me, I think, somebody else might be interested in that too. So why not try to make it? So that's why I do what I do. That I might inspire you. You might enjoy the food more. And thank you. I'm glad you're not giving up. If I gave up, that would have been a long time ago, because every change in technology and every change in all these different services and whatever, it would drive you crazy. So you're always having to learn something new. And like I tell people, my kids are all grown up. My grandchildren that I see all the time are not teenagers yet, so they're not that much help. And so I don't have anybody to ask about technology here. I have to kind of, Google everything, and I'm not the best at figuring everything out, but I'm trying. So that's the best I can do. So thank you guys. Linda says, thank you, can't wait to make your chili, looks delicious. Great. Well, I'll get the recipe posted. It is already on my website, chef-julia.com. If you look up award-winning chili, that recipe is already on my website. And I think the cornbread recipe is on there. If not, the cornbread recipe is on YouTube already. So Linda says, when is your next retreat? I don't have a retreat scheduled right now because they're doing some construction on the street where I live. They're doing some major stuff on my street, and I was worried that people would have a hard time getting to my house. So I'm going to wait and see when that's over with before scheduling any more retreats. So I will be in touch with you guys soon, and if you need to purchase any classes I've taught, just go to my website, chef-julia.com, and go to the shop section, and there are about 60 classes in there that I've already taught. There's even one called All About Beans. There's comfort food. There's Hatch, New Mexico classes. Just any interest you have in any kind of cooking, if you go to my website and go to the shop section, you'll probably find a class I've already taught. And the cost of all these classes is $20. Up until 2024, I raised it to $25. So for $20, you get a recipe packet and a 2.5-hour video, recorded video. So I think it's still a really good value, because a lot of people charge 3 times that much for a cooking class, and I'm not going to raise the price. So if there's anything you need, look it up. I'd appreciate it. All right, and then also my Amazon store. So Chef Julia Amazon store. If you need any cooking equipment, any food, any kind of ingredients, everything is on there that I use. Okay, so I am going, Belinda says, I am technologically challenged. Well, I am kind of, but I'm doing the best I can. All right, well, I'm going to enjoy my chili. It's so spicy. My husband's going to say, you made this really spicy. And he'll probably complain because he doesn't like it when it's too spicy. So maybe I'll add a little maple syrup to it or something. Anyway, it was great chatting with you guys, and I will see you at the next event. And I apologize for my technical difficulties, but that's life. We just have to keep moving forward. So bye, everybody. Take care.